Welcome to Behind the Quest. This is the show where I give you guys a little bit of insight as to some of the decision making that I have made in my actual play tabletop RPG show. And for those that are into the whole TTRPG kind of DMGM stuff themselves, I can give you guys some guidance and tips so you can avoid the same mistakes I have. I'm Will, your Game Master, and last week we started this series that we are calling The Player's Playground, right? Because I am very much a improv first type. So the way I describe my Game Master style is I make a little playground and push my kids upon it and see what happens, right? So how do you make an enticing playground for your players? This week, we are going to be covering the furniture. Now that we've covered the foundation last week, last week that was the core concepts of the world building itself, as well as the implications of that core concept on the world building, things along those lines. This week, as we cover the furniture of this world, that's going to include your slides and swings and things along those lines, which in this case equates to social interactions, combat interactions, and puzzles and mini games. That's right. You can put mini games in your campaign. Did you know that? It's really fun. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, I have guest stars that come into every arc. So when it comes to building social interactions, usually I center that around whatever character the guest star is playing. And because of this, I'm very sparing with adding other NPCs, because if I added too much depth to an NPC that I bring in during an arc, I risk overshadowing that guest star, and I don't want that. Now, I have made plenty of NPCs before, especially back in Zelda Quest. In fact, you can see various NPCs here in Faefall Quest because I have some party NPCs that they met during the first arc, so that way I can get some in there, and then they can just carry through, right? And I've had a bunch of memorable, reoccurring characters. Like in a Super Smash Quest, I had Captain Falcon as a recurring character, all these different things. So it's not that I don't do NPCs. It's that when I do them tastefully, and I do them in such a way that they don't overshadow the others, right? Because they're an NPC. You don't want to have basically just a game master's character, right? So that's the risk sometimes. And I've been guilty of that in some past campaigns, especially some past campaigns, not before I started doing them for content creation, where I would basically have a party NPC that was basically just my character, essentially, that I got to play. And you want to avoid that if possible. Because as the game master, here's the thing: if you have party NPCs, totally fine. Please make sure that they are not hogging the spotlight from your players. The players are what you are doing this for, not yourself, right? So there's a bonus tip there, but my key point that I want to make with this: plan NPCs sparingly and make them either help the party overcome obstacles or create obstacles, right? Because, again, it's for the party, it's for the players. So the players have goals. In theory, you should have an overarching party goal that they're all working towards, but then your players, your characters, the player characters, should also have their own goals as well, right? In fact, more often than not, such goals should align, right? So the players have a goal that aligns with and gives them a reason to be doing main party goal. That kind of thing. or at least give them some motivation therein. But what I want to get at here, if you want the party to be able to interact with your various NPCs, you have to think along the same lines, right? If you want to have value behind them going to that NPC, it needs to align with the goals, right? So maybe they have to meet with the mayor of the town to inform him of a danger. Maybe the character that they're meeting up with knows these woods better than anyone else. It can give them so much guidance. Maybe even join them for a jaunt out back. Or perhaps this NPC possesses a power or a relic or something that is needed to overcome an obstacle, right? So it could be information, a power, an item, something that helps them. On the other hand, they could be opposed to their quest, right? Villains and rivals. Someone that provides a blocker of some sort. It could be someone working with the bad guy that wants to block their path, right? Maybe a grunt of some sort. Think like Team Rocket, things along those lines. Or maybe it's someone competing to get the same thing before they do. Maybe they have their own reason to be going after that relic or that power, that information that's in the dungeon, something along those lines. So that's another angle that you get, right? So it's having NPCs that either help them overcome obstacles or create obstacles. Now, fights. Let's get into fights. Not literally, but this is what most people think of with tabletop RPG type stuff, right? There's plenty of videos out there, so many videos about how to scale various combat encounters to like try to figure out the challenge rating and how you should do the composition, and making all sorts of videos out there already exist. The main thing that I want to cover here, though, is pacing, right? So I record an actual play tabletop RPG show. This is the key thing, is I want to make sure that the episode ends at a certain point, especially because I have scheduled certain guest stars to be at certain episodes, so I kind of need things to wrap up at certain times, and I do have flexibility with that, right? I always do plan an extra episode at the end that's where like this is an optional thing. If they get done early, we have this to go and do, and if they don't get done early, I save that idea for later. Basically, is the gist there. So it all depends. But nonetheless, I don't want the viewers to have to sit through like 3 episodes of fights. So I very much limit it to at most 2 episodes for a fight, and there better be more than just fight in that, right? Not everyone is there to watch fights. A lot of people are, but not everyone. Some people are there for the character interactions and stuff along those lines, and we want to get the story on and make sure that everyone has a bit of what they want. And frankly, I don't think that even for an actual, like, at-table session, you should be having the entire session be a fight even then. For the same reason. Your players have different desires as to what they want. Unless you have a very, very combat-loving table, in which case y'all need to get yourselves checked, and please don't do crimes. Anyways, so how I scale this. So some of the tips, right? The fight should end when it feels like they've earned it. This is my key point. The fight should end when it feels like they've earned it, based on how important the fight is, right? Because if it's just a little rinky-dink scrub, some kind of underling of an underling, you know, somewhere down the chain of the big boss. Yeah, that's probably not going to take very long. However, if it is like the ultimate boss at the very end of the campaign, yeah, you cannot let that end in like 2 turns, man. So there has been an exception to that, though. Back in Season 2 of Super Smash Quest, there was a fight where the players figured out how to combo their abilities to where the boss was just getting like buried, and then by the time he got out, he would get like stunned. And this was just happening in a loop, and he could just not do much. So I let the players have that W early. They earned it, right? They earned that fight ending early at that point. Frankly, I'm using a system, Fate Core, that you kind of decide when the fight ends, kind of a little bit more arbitrarily-ish. And so like this whole, it ends when they've earned it, extremely applies to Fate Core. And frankly, I think that it's great to apply to other things too, right? I don't plan how much health something has until I get like a third of the way through the fight, right? After 2 rounds of them doing stuff and I see how much damage they're doing, that's when I'm like, okay, you know, like that maybe this boss has this much health, things like that. But again, that is usually going to be based off of how long I want the fight to go on and stuff along those lines. I want them to feel like they have earned it, right? But I don't want it to be cheap, right? I don't want it to be like, I don't know. We got like, you know, 20 more minutes. Let's say he has more health. No, absolutely not. That is not what I do. I try to determine it as early on as possible so that it doesn't feel cheap, right? It is determined, it's just not determined beforehand. I determine it during the fight and then it stays, right? That way they can actually like earn it at the end of it. And you know, no one's going to come home and write to me and it's like, hey, like we could have ended that like 10 turns ago or something like that. No, absolutely not. No. But yes, my key point there being the fight should end when it feels like they've earned it. So health be darned, but though don't darn it altogether, lest it feel cheap. Now, social interactions and combat interactions are the bread and butter of any table. However, there are more skills on their character sheet than just how charming they are and how hard they can hit. You want to give them stuff that isn't just fighting and socializing. That way, they can be able to flex their other skills and powers that they have invested in. And it gives them a reason to go and invest in other things, right? Otherwise, you're just going to have a bunch of characters that are either the rizziest Rizzler that's ever rizzed, or the most barbarian that's ever barbed. Burying. Yes. That is a line that I have now spoken. Anyways, so in Faefall Quest here, in the first arc, there was a little mini game where I had them become plane attendants for a little episode, which actually, fun fact, was not planned. I did not plan for that to be a minigame episode, but it ended up being one, and I am so thankful for it. That was super fun. Like, because the moment that they had suggested, like, oh, what if we bring these characters back from a previous campaign? I was like, yes, and then there it went. So sometimes you can have just little times where you can let their out of character skills shine, right? Such as improv or puzzle solving, if you want to throw some puzzles at them, perhaps. But also, think back to Super Smash Quest Season 2, my all-time favorite episode that I've ever recorded of any of my tabletop RPG actual play stuff is back in Super Smash Quest Season 2 when I had them do the restaurant minigame. Oh my goodness! having their characters just be thrusted into suddenly having to run a restaurant for a day in order to like win the heart of the guy running the place. That was quality. Now some other stuff, right? Again, you want their in-character skills to be put on display. So sometimes stealth missions, for example, could be a mini game. Those are pretty straightforward to put together and allow them, especially if you have rogues and the like on the team, to give those characters a chance to shine. Maybe you have a character that is really into nature or animal handling. Maybe an obstacle along their path is a herd of bison blocking the way. It then gives that player some time in the spotlight and rewards them for investing in that skill, right? So, key point, be creative and give them other ways to flex their skill and powers other than just rizzing and beating up people. Thank you for watching, and be sure to hit us up in the comments with any of your different questions that you might have for me as a game master, etc. And remember to follow Faefall Quest wherever you get your podcasts, including on the Fedora Will YouTube channel. And I'll see you all next Faefall. Bye!